Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for a deep dive into a secret, well, not really a secret, but something kind of like that.
Yeah, more like a hidden gem, right?
Totally. We're digging into Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life today. And let me tell you, this one's got some seriously good stuff.
It really does. I mean, who wouldn't want to uncover their own reason to jump out of bed in the morning feeling totally stoked, right?
No kidding. And the book gets into some really cool ideas about finding that sweet spot,
Yeah.
where what you love and what you're good at actually aligns with what the world needs.
And get this, what you can actually get paid for, too. They call that intersection your Ikigai, and it's like this amazing recipe for a life well lived.
Right. I mean, how often do those things actually line up for people? So to help us understand this whole Ikigai thing, the book takes us on a little trip to Okinawa, Japan. Ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah. Isn't that the island with like a crazy high number of centenarians?
You got it. They've got more people living to 100 than almost anywhere else in the world. So naturally, the authors were like, okay, we got to find out what these folks are doing right.
Yeah, what's their secret sauce? Spill the tea, Okinawa.
For real. And they dive into all sorts of fascinating stuff about their lifestyle, diet, movement, community, even their mindset. Like, for example, they practice this thing called hara-hachi-bu.
Hara Hachibu. Okay, now you have to tell me more about that.
So basically, it's this idea of eating until you're about 80% full.
Interesting. So stopping a little bit before you feel totally stuffed,
Exactly. It's all about mindful eating, savoring your food, and listening to your body's cues.
which makes a lot of sense, like giving your brain a chance to catch up to your stomach.
Right.
I've totally been there, that feeling of being way too full after a meal because I just kept going.
Tell me about it. But it's not just about how much they're eating. It's about what they're eating, too.
Mm.
Think lots of plant-based foods, fresh veggies, tofu, all that good stuff.
Okay, so pretty healthy, balanced diets overall then. Got it. What about exercise? Are we talking intense workouts here?
Surprisingly, no. It's less about hitting the gym and more about just staying active throughout the day. Think gardening, walking, even just doing more things by hand instead of relying on machines all the time.
It's like they've figured out that moving your body regularly doesn't have to be a chore. Just make it a natural part of your daily routine.
Exactly. And this whole idea of incorporating these healthy habits, diet, movement, it seems to be ingrained in their culture. It's just a way of life for them. And speaking of culture, they've also got this really strong emphasis on community, which the book highlights as another key ingredient in their long and happy lives.
Community. Tell me more about that.
So they have these things called moais, which are basically like these super tight-knit social groups that offer support, companionship, a sense of belonging, all that good stuff. They even share financial resources sometimes.
Wow. Now that's what I call a support system. It's amazing how something as simple as feeling connected to others can have such a huge impact on our well-being, both mentally and physically.
Absolutely. And, it really makes you think about your own social connections and how you can nurture those relationships in your own life. But it's not just about diet, movement, and community. The Okinawans also have this incredibly positive and resilient mindset, which plays a huge role in their longevity and happiness.
That makes sense. Your attitude and outlook on life can make a world of difference. So how do they cultivate that kind of positivity?
Well, it seems like a big part of it comes from finding joy in the everyday, appreciating the small things, focusing on what they're grateful for, and approaching challenges with this amazing sense of peace and acceptance.
I love that. Finding joy in the everyday is such a simple concept, yet so powerful when you actually put it into practice.
Totally. And you know what? It all ties back to this idea of ikigai, that sweet spot where our passions and skills align with what the world needs. And the book dives into how we can all find that sweet spot in our own lives.
It really is kind of like learning to appreciate those little things that make you, well, you.
It's like those moments where you're so into what you're doing
Yeah.
that you completely lose track of time.
Yes, exactly. Those flow states, remember those?
Totally. The book talks about those a lot. Like, when was the last time you got so caught up in something that you totally forgot what time it was?
Oh, man. All the time. Especially when I'm reading something super interesting. Or like the other day I was trying to fix this little thing on my bike and I just got totally lost in it. Next thing I know, hours had passed.
It's such a cool feeling, right? Like that feeling of being totally in the zone, completely absorbed in what you're doing.
It's the best. And you know what? Those flow states, those are huge clues to your Ikigai.
Oh, interesting. So like those activities that make us lose track of time, those could be pointing us towards our purpose.
You got it. It's like your Ikigai is whispering to you through those moments of pure joy and engagement. So pay attention to them.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So it's not just about finding something you're good at and that you could see yourself doing long term. It's
Yeah.
got to light you up inside too.
Exactly. Passion is key. But then there's that other piece of the puzzle, right? What the world needs.
Right, right. Like, how do we find that balance between doing something we love, that we're good at, and that actually makes a difference in the world?
That's where things get really interesting. Think about it this way. Let's say you're super passionate about, I don't know, animals.
Right. Okay, I'm with you. Love animals.
Awesome. And let's say you're also really, really good at, photography.
Okay, I'm seeing where you're going with this.
You could combine those two things, your passion for animals and your photography skills, to raise awareness about animal welfare.
Like taking photos of shelter animals and helping them find homes. Or maybe even documenting wildlife and raising awareness about conservation efforts.
Exactly. See, you're already finding those intersections. You're passionate, you're skilled, and you're contributing to something bigger than yourself. Boom. Ikigai.
I love it. So it's not necessarily about finding this one big, grand purpose, but rather about looking for ways to weave our passions into our everyday lives and make a difference, even in small ways.
100%. Start small, follow your curiosity, and see where it leads you.
This is really inspiring stuff. And you know what else I find super interesting about the Okinawan approach? Their whole perspective on material possessions and, well, stuff in general.
Oh, yeah. They're all about keeping things simple, right?
Exactly. Like they really emphasize this idea of living with less, not getting too attached to material things, and focusing on experiences and relationships instead.
It's like they understand that true happiness doesn't come from accumulating a bunch of stuff. It comes from connecting with something bigger than yourself, whether that's your community, your passions, or simply appreciating the beauty of the present moment.
It's so true. And you know what? This whole idea of embracing a simpler, less materialistic lifestyle really ties into their approach to aging and, well, retirement, or their lack of a word for it, I should say.
Right. The book talks about how the Okinawans don't really have this concept of retiring in the same way that we do, right?
Yeah, it's more like they just transition from one phase of life to the next, but they never really stop working or contributing or pursuing their passions.
They're constantly learning, growing, and finding ways to stay active and engaged in their communities, no matter their age.
And you know what? The book suggests that this mindset, this idea of never really retiring, might be one of the key ingredients to their longevity and happiness.
It makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, our whole Western concept of retirement is a little, well, flawed.
Right, like what if instead of viewing retirement as this hard stop to our working lives, we saw it as an opportunity to redefine what work even means to us?
Totally. What if we saw it as a chance to finally pursue those passions we've always dreamed of? To give back to our communities, to start that side hustle we've been putting off.
Or maybe even just to spend more time with the people we love, doing the things that bring us joy.
Exactly. It's about designing a life that feels both meaningful and fulfilling, no matter what stage of life you're in.
I love that. Designing a life. And, speaking of community, I think that's another really important piece of this whole Ikigai puzzle that we can't forget about.
Oh, absolutely. Those strong social bonds that the Okinawans have, those moais, are crucial for their well-being. Remember,
Totally. It's like having this built-in support system, a group of people you can always count on no matter what's going on in your life.
people to celebrate your wins with and help you through those tough times.
And it's not just about having people to lean on when things get tough. It's about having people to share your life with, to laugh with, to learn from.
And let's be real, having people to grab a cup of coffee with or go for walks with, those little moments of connection can make a world of difference in how we feel.
It's true. Sometimes just having someone to chat with, someone to listen, can make all the difference in the world.
Totally. It's like those little moments of human connection. They nourish our souls just as much as, healthy food nourishes our bodies.
Exactly. And you know what else I love about the Okinawan approach? They really seem to have this knack for finding joy in the simple things, the everyday moments that we often rush through or take for granted.
It's like they've mastered the art of mindfulness without even realizing it?
Yeah, like it's just ingrained in their culture, a way of life.
Totally. Instead of constantly chasing some big, elusive happiness in the future, they're fully present in the here and now, savoring those small, beautiful moments that make up a life.
Like taking the time to really taste that first sip of coffee in the morning, or noticing the way the sunlight filters through the trees.
Exactly. Or like just pausing for a moment to appreciate a beautiful sunset. Those little things add up.
They really do. And you know what? It all ties back to this idea Ikigai, to finding that reason to leap out of bed each morning feeling excited about the day ahead.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating a life that feels both meaningful and fulfilling on a deep personal level.
And a big part of that, it seems, is about shifting our perspective on, well, pretty much everything, like even the way we view aging and retirement.
Oh, yeah. That was a big one for me. The Okinawans have such a different outlook on getting older, don't they?
It's not this thing to be dreaded or this end point, it's just another chapter in a long and hopefully fulfilling life.
And instead of slowing down, they're out there living their lives to the fullest, staying active, pursuing their passions, contributing to their communities.
It's like they figured out that age is just a number and that it's never too late to chase your dreams or find your purpose.
Which is so inspiring, right? Like, no matter how old you are, there's always something new to learn, something new to try, something new to create.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to this whole idea of Ikigai, this beautiful intersection of passion, skill, meaning, and let's not forget getting paid for it too,
Because let's be real, we all got to pay the bills.
for real.
Hmm.
But finding a way to earn a living doing something that lights you up,
Yeah.
something that aligns with your values and makes a difference in the world, that's where the magic happens.
100%. And, it doesn't have to be this big, dramatic, overnight transformation. Sometimes it's about those small, consistent steps we take each day that lead us closer to that sweet spot.
Those little tweaks we make to our routines, those new habits we form, those tiny sparks of joy we chase, they can eventually ignite a life of purpose and meaning.
Exactly. And I think that's what we really wanted to leave our listeners with today, this idea that finding your ikigai, your reason for being, is an ongoing journey.
It's about being curious, being open to new experiences, and most importantly, being kind to yourself along the way.
And remembering that it's okay to not have all the answers right now.
Exactly. It's about taking that first step, then the next, and the next, always moving towards that life that feels authentically and joyfully you.
Because ultimately, that's what it's all about, embracing a life that feels both fulfilling and deeply, truly yours.
So go out there, find your Ikigai, and get ready to embrace the amazing journey that awaits. Until next time.